If you're a hooper, I guarantee you have so much potential that's locked up in your mind somewhere. And if you're able to focus on your psychology and mentality, it can change a lot for you. I think you guys will enjoy this video a lot. As I've been able to work with more high-level players, study high-level players, talk to people who are really smart in terms of the psychology and the mental side of the game, I've started to put the pieces together and kind of understand what makes the best players in terms of what's going on up here and their mental tools. So in this video, I'll give you a rundown of a bunch of different ingredients, you could say, that go into unlocking your potential. Now, some of these are gonna be different for everybody. Some of the best players in the world still may be lacking some of these. It's not always gonna be perfect. Everyone's psychological profile is significantly different. But I want you guys to get a feel for these, understand them, hear some examples, and then go to work and try to build these things yourself. If you really want help with that, make sure to check out the Mental Skills Academy. It's a 3-month program with meditation, visualization, mental exercises, different ways to build up all these tools. I think you guys will really enjoy it. Make sure to check out the link in the description. So first off is orienting your mindset towards winning rather than not losing. If you talk to really good athletes, a lot of them will say, yeah, I hate losing, I don't like to lose. But in reality, what really drives them is winning, is making those big plays, is having those big games. They don't see losing as much of a threat, and as a result, they're willing to take more risk. They're not overthinking everything because they don't want to fail. And this really helps you thrive under pressure. And again, pressure isn't just the big shot in the fourth quarter. It can be getting on the court and just making a routine play because you're a 10-minute per game player. So a good example of this is when you catch the ball for your first shot of the game. Rather than being like, okay, I just checked in the game, I don't want to miss this shot. You should be thinking, oh, I just checked in the game, this is my time, I'm gonna let this thing fly, shoot it to make it. Same thing if you're going by a defender, don't dribble by them not to lose it. If you're checking in a game, don't think, I don't wanna mess up, think, okay, how can I make winning plays? And as soon as you start to have this desire to win or make a good play, start to outweigh the thinking of, oh shit, I don't want to mess up, you're going to start seeing yourself play a lot better. Secondly is embracing challenges and starting to position yourself as an underdog. So this is kind of a 2-part ingredient here. First off is just the act of actually seeking out difficult things. High performers are always trying to challenge themselves. They don't want to stay in that comfort zone because that's not fun. That's not what gives them that dopamine release, which is why they play for the most part anyways. They want challenges that they can overcome, that they can say, hey, y'all didn't want me to do that. Y'all didn't think I can do that, but I did. And as a result, since they're always taking on that challenge, they're framing themselves as the underdog. Oh, you didn't expect me to make that shot. You didn't expect me to win this game. You didn't expect me to hold this player to 5 points. And when you're an underdog, it's a lot easier to play because you have less pressure on yourself. You have more realistic expectations. And again, you're playing to win rather than not to lose. And secondly, what this does is create something called the near miss effect. If you're constantly right near conquering a challenge, but you just can't get it, that's when you get addicted to something, right? For example, if you're doing a drill like this, and you just can't get it, you can't get it, you can't get it, but you know that you're close to it, and then eventually you conquer that challenge. That's how you improve over time, whether it's in a drill, whether it's beating one of your friends one-on-one who just always beats you by a little bit, but you're getting closer and closer. And again, this creates this addictive effect where you're constantly seeking challenge and then pushing that limit more and more. And at the end of the day, this allows you to take the extrinsic pressure off of you. In other words, worrying about what other people think. Oh, he choked, she messed up, they should have won that game, whatever. And now the only thing that you're dealing with is intrinsic motivation. You're playing with house money. It's your desire to accomplish that, not anyone else. Number 3 is really good athletes frame setbacks well and have a good relationship with failure. For example, if they get injured, a lot of the time, of course, it sucks at first, but you'll always hear like, hey, this happened for a reason. This is minor setback for a major comeback. Whatever the case may be, they're framing that as a chance to get better. Paul George, for example, says that when he went through that horrific leg injury, that made him a better player because now he's sitting on the side, seeing, observing, studying. He's making the most out of it. And similarly with any failure, high-level athletes, of course, they don't like to fail, but they have a good relationship with failure. They see it in a healthy, positive way. They understand that failure sucks, but it's also what's 100% necessary on their way to where they want to get to. They know that everyone else has been through it. They know that the best players who they've always looked up to, they've failed even more than they have. Just about how you bounce back from it and how you're able to not let that cloud the rest of your journey. So when you guys go through a failure, understand that 1, every player, even the ones who are significantly better than you, have been there before. And 2, it really just matters how you bounce back from that because there's always going to be a route back to where you want to get to. The next one is obsession with improvement. This one kind of speaks for itself. Best players that I work with, or at least the ones who have reached their highest potential or gotten close to it, they don't want to walk out of the gym feeling like they haven't mastered a challenge I've given them. They want to continue pushing those limits. They want to see how good they can get. They want to see how well they can understand the game. And because of this, they fall in love with the process of getting better, of being challenged, of conquering those challenges, and not necessarily the results, because if you fall in love with the first part, the results will typically take care of themselves, at least over time. The next one is called the Pygmalion effect. This is the idea that if you have higher expectations around you, you will likely perform better. Now, this can also work in the opposite direction, because if your expectations are too high, if your expectation is perfection, then you're gonna end up overthinking. You're not gonna deal with failure as well. But if you have people around you that expect you to do well, your coaches, your friends, your teammates, if they like you and they think that you can do big things, then chances are you probably will perform better, at least in the long run. And then if you expect higher of yourself without expecting perfection, again, you're gonna be able to perform better, improve more, etc. So I want you guys to surround yourself with people who continue to just pump good energy into you. So I want you guys to surround yourself with people who will continue to just feed you good energy, expect a lot out of you, verbalize that, and then you follow that. Think a lot of yourself. You don't have to be cocky, but have high expectations. The next one is emotional regulation and management. This is just kind of a fancy term for being in touch with your emotions during the game, or after a game, or before a game. If you're able to feel and label and understand every emotion that you feel, and then work backwards from there to get to the emotion that you want to be feeling, it's gonna help a ton. So this is how I would typically suggest going about this.
Biggest thing that's helped me outside of the meditation, the visualization, all that, is getting really present with the details of how I feel while I'm on the court. Because it's easy to say, okay, when I get on the court, I'm not gonna get mad. I'm not gonna feel pressure. And then you get in here and you're like, oh shit. So when you're in here, make it your biggest goal to every emotion that you feel. Just recognize it. Don't judge it. Just recognize, okay, I'm angry there. My confidence isn't high right now. Recognize it, acknowledge it, and then if you have time, reflect on it. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way, okay? And kind of explore your emotions while you're on the court, because if you are able to kind of label those things, it makes it that much easier to actually attack on those and work on those things. So I would say, for example, the rest of this camp, just think about every emotion you feel. If you miss a layup and you're embarrassed, I'm a little bit embarrassed right now. Why is that? I missed a layup. Why am I embarrassed? Everyone misses layups. Okay, just get to the next one. So label them, be present, and that's gonna help everything, all your meditation, all that other stuff kind of come into play.
So again, when you're on the court, when you feel an emotion, try to label that, understand what that is. Say, shit, maybe I'm kind of embarrassed right now because I just airballed a shot and people are watching and I don't want them to think that I'm bad. Now you have this foundation that you are embarrassed. Cool, you've labeled that. You're in touch with it. This is more than 80–90% of what people can do on the court. Now very quickly you think, okay, how can I neutralize that emotion? Well, everyone airballs. If you think about what the spotlight effect is, you always think stuff is way worse than it really is. People really aren't focused on you because there are more airballs in the game. There are more turnovers in the game. So you're probably magnifying this in your own mind. So as a result, again, it's not that big of a deal. Let me move on and make winning plays so that they'll have a positive feeling for me. Now you've identified it, you've gone to work on that emotion, kind of reverse engineered it. And now you're taking those steps to be able to get to where you want to. The next one is allowing the fast brain to work. So in other words, being able to play off of instinct. I talk about this a ton, but we have a fast brain and a slow brain in basketball. Fast brain are these really quick decisions, right? Little adjustment at the rim, quickly reacting to a defender to make a move, seeing an open teammate and quickly getting that ball out for a pass. These more instinctual things that just happen in a split second. Then we have the slow thinking brain. We're thinking about certain coverages. We're thinking about how to court map and set up plays. These are things that we can actually process. They're less of a reflex or an instinct. And again, more things that we can consciously think about. Now, the key here is allowing that fast thinking brain, those instincts to take over. Because once we start thinking about these things, once we start consciously trying to process which way we should go against a defender or which hand I should finish at the rim with, the slow thinking part of our brain, the part that actually processes this, prefrontal cortex, it just doesn't work fast enough. So you're gonna start overthinking, you're gonna be behind, then you're gonna fall into this big trap. What I want you guys to get good at is allowing these instincts to take over while you're still able to use this slow thinking brain to manage the game. Now, a lot of this comes down to the next point, which is being able to get into the flow state. I have a full video on this, so make sure to check that out. But if you're able to get into the flow state, you feel like you're not thinking at all. Everything's just coming naturally. All those instinctual decisions, they're going your way. And even when you do make mistakes, they go out the window much quicker than they would if you're overthinking things, because you're in the zone. Now, if you're able to get there consistently, again, that's a very good mental state to be performing in. The next one is adaptability. So being able to adapt to shitty circumstances sometimes. Maybe you get on the court and it's a little bit slippery. Are you gonna complain, or are you gonna do what most good players would do, which is say, you know what, this is the situation that we're dealt with. Everybody else is dealing with the same conditions. I'm gonna do what I can. I'm gonna make it work. Let's say you don't have much time to warm up. Are you gonna be the guy who's, oh, I didn't get my 10 minutes of form shooting in. I'm not gonna shoot very well. Or you're gonna say, look, I'm adaptable. I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna solve this problem. Subpar players are constantly making excuses, whereas great players are constantly looking at whatever is going on around them, understanding that it's probably never perfect, and then dealing with it and making the most out of it. Next, if you wanna be a great player, you're gonna have to be a leader in some way. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean being the Kevin Garnett or the Anthony Edwards or the Draymond Green, who's super vocal, but even if it's just leading by example of taking care of all the business that you gotta be taking care of, allowing other players to see this and to follow along, and building a culture of just being professional, being dedicated. This is just as good of a leader in itself, but this is a certain level of responsibility that you have to be ready for as you begin to move up in the ranks as a player. And if you're not ready to lead others, it's gonna take away from what you're able to do. Next up is insulating yourself from other people's thoughts, especially hate. Again, as you move up the ranks, it's gonna be a blessing to get more attention and everything that comes with that, but you're gonna get more hate, and you're just gonna have to deal with this. And if you're constantly thinking about what other people think, oh, I airballed a shot, oh, what are they thinking in the stands? Oh, damn, I turned the ball over. My teammates must hate me, or the other team must be laughing at me. If you're constantly thinking about this, you're not putting your mental attention to what it really needs to go to. I think Anthony Edwards is the perfect example of this. Dude lives his life like he doesn't really care what other people think, and that allows him to, again, airball a shot, turn the ball over, and then bounce back and just kill, because he's not thinking about all the external components to it. Now, with that, the next ingredient here is kind of the flip side, and it's being able to take accountability and trust and put some value into what other people think. You got to be able to filter through who's real, who's not, who's just hating, who actually matters. And when people who do matter tell you things that are important, you're gonna have to be able to take these things to the heart, even if they're not what you want to hear, and make adjustments on that. If one of your assistant coaches, for example, comes to you and it's somebody who you really trust, and they're like, look, I know you've been working on these mid-range shots. They're not a bad shot, but you're just not good at them. They're hurting our chances to win. You may have to look at that and be like, damn, he's right, let me adjust. If a teammate comes up to you and goes, yo, bro, you haven't really been like holding up your end of the bargain. You've been late a few times. You're not locked in as you should be. Instead of taking that as a threat, you should be able to take that to heart, adjust, and move forward from there. Next is attention span and focus. This is something that I see a lot with younger players, is that they'll get into a workout, and after a few minutes of a drill, they'll be looking at something else or thinking about something else. In a game, towards the end of the game, their focus starts kind of whittling away. The best players are able to extend that attention span, be fully immersed in the task. And this can be worked on every single day in workouts and practice by not getting distracted, by trying to devote everything you can to your workout, not looking at your phone, trying to, when your mind does wander, because it will, get right back to the task at hand. This can be like a form of meditation as you are training. It's gonna help you build focus, develop a longer attention span, and put everything again to the task at hand. Next up is the ability to have fun in difficult situations. So if you're entering a fourth quarter where the team's super physical, you guys are down a bit, the odds are a little bit stacked against you, you can go in there with a few different mental approaches. One of which is a little bit more negative. It's like, all right, we gotta get this over with. I hope we don't lose. All these other thoughts that can go through your mind. The other one is, all right, this is gonna be a fun challenge. Let's do this. Let's have fun with this. And it's just a foundational psychological understanding that when you have fun with something, you do it better. So I want you guys to go into these situations looking to have fun, looking to see it again as the game that it is, rather than a super difficult challenge with all this pressure, and you want to get yourself out of that situation. Enjoy these moments. Next is having the desire to win versus individual success, and being able to put away some of this individual success for the sake of winning. This is just part of what happens when you're playing in a team sport. It's part of the dynamic, and you're gonna have to understand that everyone on your team, 99% of the time, can do more than what they're asked to do. Nobody's gonna be able to put their full skill level, all of their abilities on the floor on a daily basis. So as a result, you're gonna have to draw back some things. You may not be shooting as many shots as you would like. You may not be on the court as much as you would like, but try to understand how this helps the team win. And even if you don't get the same acknowledgement, understand that winning is really number one. If you do that, if you take care of that, you will eventually find spots on teams and continue to work your way up the ranks. Next one is being able to thrive in pressure-filled environments. Now, a lot of this stems from these other qualities. So I'd say the main thing here that we haven't talked about is that studies show that players in really any sport have developed better strategies mentally in pressure-filled situations. So in other words, they're able to self-talk or visualize or feel those emotions better and start to actually put themselves in the right frame of mind for that situation. Even if they've never explicitly worked on it and they're just a natural at this, the best players in pressure are constantly using these strategies. So I want you guys to see again how if you're able to develop all these things, if you have all these tools that you can use in something like a pressure-filled fourth quarter, it's gonna help you thrive, and studies back that up. And then lastly, and this is something that I talk about all the time with players and content, etc., is that you need to be able to see yourself as more than a basketball player. Even the Kobe Bryants, the MJs, the LeBrons, the Stephs, the Luka Doncic's of the world, of course, Jokic, all of these players will see themselves for more than a basketball player. They are a human who's well-rounded, who has more going on, and they just play basketball. This is their profession, so they care about it, they prepare for it, but there's more to life than that. This is gonna help you build a more well-rounded, happy life, which is gonna, in turn, make you a better basketball player. And it's gonna help you take pressure off yourself, because you know if you have a bad game, you're not necessarily a bad person. That's not your identity. Of course, you want to play well, but if you're able to pull back some of this pressure off of yourself, it's gonna help a lot. And that's one reason why guys like Jokic play so well, so consistently, because he's not putting pressure on himself to perform every single day because that's what he is. He's a basketball player and he's got to do that well every single time he's on the court. So again, develop other hobbies, spend time off the court. Understand that basketball isn't everything, and I promise you guys, it's gonna make your game and your life a lot better. So again, get to work on these things. I know all of these were kind of short little snippets of each one. Really, each of these ingredients can be a full YouTube video, but I want you guys to be aware of these things. Start to feel them out in your own training, practices, games. Get to work on them. And again, you guys are gonna be surprised at how big of a leap you can make here.